Welcome to Cinemophile, where we bring you the best in independent, documentary, and foreign films, and we talk to the people who made them. I'm your host, Mike Caspar, and you can find out more about the program by going to cinemaphilepod.com. Endlessly struggling to feel seen, David becomes infatuated with a mysterious company that promises to transform people's lives by permanently changing the color of their eyes. After traveling to India to get this controversial procedure, he begins to question if this artificial beauty will give him the fulfillment he truly seeks. The film is called Caterpillar, and from the jump, I want to let people know, really well done documentary film. We're joined today by the director of Caterpillar, Liza Mandelup. Liza, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Really.
Thank you. And I want to say something at the top of our interview that I hope sounds like a compliment because that's what it's intended. Honestly, this feels like a narrative film. I was like, is this one of those hybrids? Am I missing something that I've heard? I've seen enough hybrid documentary narrative films now, and I thought, but the reason I said that, and the reason I wanted to get it out there, is because it's kind of it's very believable because of the characters, the people in the film. But the twists and turns it takes, the journey is almost unbelievable in some ways. So
Yeah.
I just really had to kind of do a double take on this film, and that is meant as the highest possible compliment for the film. Tell me how all of this got underway. How you met David and all the different people that we see in this film. Wow.
You're not alone in saying that. We actually, when we screened at South by, we screened in a category that has narrative films and documentaries. And I didn't realize this, but a lot of people who went to the screening who just like popped into it over the course of the festival because it was in the visions category, like and not the documentary category. They just went into the theater because they were seeing, oh, it's playing at Alamo. And at the end of like multiple screenings, people would see David come up and be like, wait, what? Like they just like, and like a bunch of hands shot up. And that was like kind of the first experience of being like, okay, like people really took this in like a narrative film. And yeah, I love that reaction actually, because it's very much a documentary.
It is very much a documentary, but the way, and again, that's a compliment to you being in the right place at the right time, having the right kind of DP, the right kind of, because the lighting's great. There's so much about it that you think, wow, this had to be staged, and yet it isn't. And then on top of everything else, for you to be able to go to India with David and capture as almost equally interesting people in this process of changing the color of their eyes is amazing. I mean, I don't know what to say. Luck, fortune, whatever it is, but boy, did you really nail all of the elements in this film.
Thank you. I feel very flattered to hear that. It was definitely like one of the hardest films I've ever had to make. I think that each film that I do, I'm trying to challenge my style, but like I come from like the visual arts world and I came into documentary through like making some like more experimental documentaries. And so I am like more of like I just think of myself as a filmmaker more than like a documentary filmmaker, but I love real people and like real stories. And so a lot of the stories that I gravitate towards are ones that I see play out in my mind like a scripted film. Like I can see the scenes and I could see that like, oh, this character in these locations on this pursuit is going to be an incredible story. And I just try to like make a bet and like hope that it happens. But you know, I've been doing this long enough to know that like you have some insurances as well. Like we followed multiple people. We were open to doing multiple trips. I think that you know, a lot of crazy stuff happened in India that like is what people call like documentary magic, where like I could never have predicted what would have happened. But I think that like we really felt like the people that were going on this journey to get this procedure would have stories. And that's sort of what I go searching for when I think about making a film. So yeah.
Yeah. You were open to this. Maybe I should go back to kind of how you got into this.
Yeah,
What do you,
I actually met someone and I was complimenting their eyes. I was like on another doc shoot and I was like, wow, you have like the most beautiful eyes. And their response was, I went to India and got these eyes. And I literally was like, what does that even mean? I immediately was like, I had a lot of questions, and the person told me to Google Bright Ocular. And so that night I went home and I watched their YouTube channel and I was like, this is a film. Like, whatever is happening with this company, with this YouTube channel. And it was one of those things where I had this idea that I was like, the only way to make this is to get like inside access, is to like really go get in with the company to like get that is like doing the procedure, and also like get in with the clinic. Like I just was like, I'm not going to make this with people after they get it done. Like I felt like I had to like go on the journey with someone who had the conviction to like get this procedure that's not FDA approved. You have to go to a foreign country to get it. And I just did one of those things where I was just like, I'm just gonna like email them, see if they get back. And we just got access. Yeah, it was one of those things where we were just told, like, yeah, you can come to India, you can film. I don't think that, yeah, I think it was one of those things where, and I remember like I had to get like funding for it. And it was like an idea that I was tossing around. And then it was like this, when I got access, it was like my first initial round of funding was off a Google Doc explaining like the access that I got. And people were like, yeah, you gotta go. Yeah, so we went, filmed with a few people before, and then went to India.
So this and there's so there's these little elements in the film, like what the hell is bright ocular? Like nobody seems to know exactly, or at least in the film, they can't identify a particular building, or it's sort of a nebulous. And again, you don't have to explain it. It just adds an element of mystery and intrigue to the story.
Totally. Yeah. And I think that we were on the journey like with the patients, because like how it happened was so fast, right? Like literally got this email that was like from Bright Ocular, who I still to this day do not know who they are, that said, you can go to India, here's our clinic, put me in touch with the clinic. And it was like coming up. And so like and which actually I think made for the better film, was I was on the journey with the patients where we were putting the pieces together in real time with them. So like I knew something was strange. Obviously I know I'm filming a not FDA approved procedure. Like you see in the beginning of the film, you have to go to these places, like India, Tunisia, like to Egypt, to like there's very specific countries that like legally like will allow this. So obviously I knew I was following something that was going to have something bubbling underneath, but we didn't know the details. And so when we got to India, like I remember being like, we're not going to put a camera down the entire time we're here. Because we didn't have like a full plan. We basically filmed for like 2 weeks straight. I hadn't planned that. Like it was like something we had to like, figure out on like I just was like, this is crazy. What's happening here? But yeah, it was one of those things where you just really like follow your intuition. And that's kind of what I feel like I love about documentary, where I'm sort of like, you get to like have a hunch, there's a story there, and you get to go on that chase.
You sound like me when I talk to documentary filmmakers. That's my highest compliment. The fact that you have these instincts, the fact that you follow them, all the rest of it is amazing. And all of this works so well because of David Taylor and his mom. And you're filming him in India. He's taken on this kind of persona, this rebirth, the rising butterfly, and all that, all of it. And you capture all of it. And he is such a good guy. I really, truly like David for so many different, and just all kinds of reasons. He's smart, he's honest, and he's got this amazing, complicated relationship with his mother, which
Yeah.
you couldn't make this up. It's that good, to be
Well,
honest.
I think that that is one of the like, when I'm pursuing a story, I like call it like emotionally driven documentaries,
Mhm.
where people are searching for something and they feel like this sense of like longing, this like desire, this dream. It's like something that propels them forward, and that's kind of like the rhythm of the story for me. And so the reason I even gravitated towards the story in the first place, where I was kind of putting these pieces together in my mind, where I was like, to get this procedure and to believe that you can really change your life by changing the color of your eyes, and like to fall down this rabbit hole on YouTube where like you're looking at this video and thinking that it's the answer, like there has to be some sort of like emotional story there. And one that I also feel like was an entry point to me, where I sort of feel like we live in a world where there's a better version of you, like there's a that someone could sell to you. You could always improve, like you're kind of constantly absorbing stuff on your phone and on the internet of like what's better. And so I think I was just really at the time that I started making this film really interested in making a documentary that explores the idea of like a better you. And that's what I kept like talking about it when at first where I was like, I feel like there's something here that's about the idea of like the deep, deep, deep desire we have to become a better version of ourselves, and how technology and like social media and like YouTube specifically in this case can like exploit that. And so I filmed with a few people, but like David and I had a connection. I think also like the type of filmmaking I do is like a lot of days and stuff. You need to have like chemistry, and you need to feel like someone also feels like it's therapeutic for them to be in the film too. And so I feel like David really wanted to work through a lot of stuff in his life that was going to be a part of the film. And so we really just like connected on that. And I think that for me, when I was also kind of thinking of how to put this film together, when I saw the relationship with his mom, it was like something where these emotions that I know are part of this story are like playing out in real time, where like, we grow up because like, he's not super young, he's like, he's lived like some of his life already. And like we grow up and we're never really able to shake the sort of trauma that we hold on to with our parents. And every single person has some sort of trauma from their parents, even in like good childhoods. It's just sort of like how we develop as people. And I think that I loved the idea of like being on this quest for him to like sort of untangle what was like his personal trauma that he was applying to like these like physical manifestations, and like what was his personal trauma that he could untangle to then sort of feel like maybe I am good enough. And all of these things, even though like David and I live completely different lives and have completely different lived experiences, that felt like a very universal
Yeah.
thing to be like, am I good enough? Could I go on a journey to decide that I am good enough? And like that's really like what the film became about. And I feel like when you start to understand like the emotional like thing that's driving a film, like I get so many ideas for scenes. I'm like, oh, like what about if we do this scene where like he like does it like what he moved to New York while we were filming, and it's like what if we follow him where it's like his first days in New York while he's walking down the street and like showing the world these eyes, and like it was just like I had all these like sort of poetic ideas for how to like put that concept into scenes, and so that's really what like made the film come to life.
Well, yeah, you had this idea, this way it could go, and it does. He hooks up with his former best or old best friends and people he's known and all that kind of stuff, and he fleshes him out beautifully. And this is a film that could have been like a 60 minutes where you kick down the door at the Bright Ocular and you uncover all this craziness and all that. But it's just such an you're right, what you said
Yeah, I
earlier.
love
It's an
that you said that
yeah.
too, because it's like I think that option was always there, like to do like an investigative piece. And I think in this time when like like all the streamers are like true crime and like scandal and investigation, like to choose not to do that was actually like a choice. Like we were all like, we want to make a film about like why would you get this? Not like how did this company come to be, and you just kind of go home with like the facts of the story. I want to make like for me the film like transcends the story itself when you attack when it creates this like emotional thing where it's like why does anyone do any of this stuff, like why does anyone believe that getting this specific treatment or reading this specific book or talking to this specific healer or anything would solve their problems? How do we decide that this person, this thing has the answer to our problems? Like I kind of had like bigger questions than just like one, salacious story. And I think that that was just like my creative intuition. And I think that that's kind of how the film became what it is.
I'm so glad you did all of these things. I'm so happy for you because this is truly a compelling story. Along the way, we get to see a peek behind the curtain of sort of the world of medicine, the regulatory agencies that we know of and we deal with and we rely on for reliability of what they're telling us is the truth. way beyond that. And also, I don't want to give away the other people that are at the clinic having this done. We follow their stories for long enough to get the idea who they are, a little bit of who they are about, which feeds into what you were talking about earlier. I have to ask you a real quick question. This film will be screening in New York. Is it Oscar qualifying?
Yes, it's Oscar qualifying. It's going to be playing at DCTV starting November 7th. And then we're going to have some screenings in LA. And then, yeah, we're going to go from there. And then a digital release at the end of November.
Great. Well, I wish you the best. Again, it's just a terrific documentary film, Caterpillar. And as Liza just described, it's in New York. It'll come out here to Los Angeles at some point in the not too distant future. Be looking for it. Seek it out. And just an amazing documentary film, Caterpillar. Liza Mandelup, thank you so much for your time and thank you so much for your work.
Thank you so much for appreciating the film.
Yeah.
It was a great chat. So really excited to get the word out about it.
You have been listening to Cinemaphile with Mike Kaspar, the place where you will hear from the best in independent documentary and foreign filmmakers. Please check out our previous interviews as well as upcoming interviews and special programming by going to cinemaphilepod.com. We are also available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, searchable under Cinemaphile with Mike Kaspar. Until next time, thank you for listening.